In the 20th century, two trainers would dominate thoroughbred racing and the sport's most famous race, the Kentucky Derby. Ben Jones, master of Calumet Farms, won a record 6 Run for the Roses with just 11 starters from 1938 through 1952. Included were 2 Triple Crown winners, WHIRLAWAY in 1941 and in 1948, Citation. At the end of the 20th century, it was trainer D. Wayne Lukas with 4 victories from a record number of Derby starters beginning in 1981. In the sport of kings, where bloodlines and traditions are everything, Darrell Wayne Lukas was something quite different. The second of 3 children, he grew up on a farm in Antigo, Wisconsin. He was self-taught, self-made, self-motivated.
I was always one to get up and go. I mean, my mother tells me that she worried about me because even in the 4th and 5th grade, I would get up every morning and shine my shoes. And, you know, you think back now, why would a kid get up and shine his shoes to go to grade school without being asked? But I don't know where that comes from, but I've always wanted to get up and get started. I've been very competitive all my life, very intense. Once I set my mind on doing something, I never tackled anything I didn't think I could accomplish.
Becoming the sport's most successful trainer in history, the first with a stable to go over the $200 million mark in earnings, was not one of Lukas's early goals.
Well, I don't think anybody wakes up, you know, like some kids wake up and they want to be a basketball coach, or they wake up and they want to, you know, be an engineer or a doctor or something. I don't think with horses you really early on in your career feel like you're going to maybe make it a profession. I think it starts with a love of horses, and then you go along and things start to happen and fall into place, and that was the case with me, really. You start having success, and but at no time in my early years, when I was just doing it for the love of it, did I ever stop and say, I think I could be a professional horse trainer. At that time, I thought I was going to be a basketball coach.
While working on his master's at the University of Wisconsin, Lukas served as the Badgers' graduate assistant basketball coach. He became head coach at Logan High in lacrosse, and even though he had many more wins with his quarter horses than he did in basketball, he still couldn't see himself as a full-time horse trainer.
I never dreamed that I'd be anything but a basketball coach. I actually thought that I would be a Big Ten basketball coach, and as it turned out, I think if we followed that scenario through early, I'd have probably ended up as the head coach at Michigan at some point.
After the 1967-68 season, when Logan Lacrosse went 2-16, D. Wayne headed west to be with the horses. One man, Jack Brainerd, had a major impact on Lukas's early development as a horse trainer.
I have said over and over, the best horseman I ever knew. And I struck up a friendship with him. And through hours of conversation and looking at yearlings and horses and studying conformation and everything, we developed a very, very strong friendship. And I think he had a great influence on me. He'd never trained a racehorse. Never had seen hardly any racehorses run. I had the racehorse background, but he had the horse background, and he taught me so much about the mental aspect of dealing with horses that I would have to contribute a lot of our success to him.
Lukas dominated the quarter horse game before making the move to thoroughbreds full-time in 1978.
We got to thinking about it, we thought, well, what else could we accomplish over here? You know, we'd done just about everything we could do. We had numerous champions, titles, whatever you use as a measuring stick. And we decided that we'd just make a clean switch and do it, and we did it.
Right away, D. Wayne had one goal in mind, winning the Kentucky Derby.
It's the one race in the world that everybody wants to win. Every trainer, owner, and jockey wakes up every day, and if you can say, what would you rather do than anything else in the world, or where would you rather be, they're going to say, I want to be in the winner's circle the first Saturday in May at 5:30.
But like everything else in D. Wayne Lukas's life, success at the Derby didn't come quickly or easily. The 107th Kentucky Derby was won by Pleasant Colony, but that was just one of the stories from that 1981 Run for the Roses. That year marked the first Derby starter for a former quarter horse trainer named D. Wayne Lukas. The horse was Partez.
The first reaction from everybody was that he didn't belong. I felt he was kind of a horse for the course, and actually I was right, because he ended up, you know, running third, closed like a freight train, was a big, probably an overachiever, not a horse that you'd pick out for the Derby, not a great horse, but he ran huge. And, of course, that just whetted my appetite. To win the Preakness one year and get third in the Derby, the next, I was off and running.
From 1981 through the end of the 1990s, Team Lukas had at least one starter in every Kentucky Derby, a record. And the man who would win the most derbies at the end of the 20th century would also lose the most, starting 0 for 12.
Even the losses. You see, when you lose, there's a benefit also. Losing makes you self-evaluate. There's no race in America that makes you self-evaluate what you're doing, like the Kentucky Derby. And you're going to lose more than you're going to win. So you really go back and you look back and you say, what could I have done different? Maybe you'd had the wrong horse. I had the wrong horse a lot of times. But I had the right horse 4 times. And I think we're going to have some other shots at it. Jones's record is sitting out there of 6. I'm in the prime of my career. I'm just now trying to figure out what the hell to do with a racehorse. I don't think I've got it mastered, but I'm getting closer every day. And I think there's another 1 or 2 out there.
In the spring of 1988, Lukas was preparing a big roan filly named Winning Colors for the 114th Kentucky Derby. 4 years earlier, he had been humiliated when his champion filly Althea, the Derby favorite, ran 19th. Wayne knew the history of fillies winning in the Derby, 2 in 113 years. Regret winning in 1915, and Genuine Risk in 1980. But coming off her dominating win in the Santa Anita Derby over the best colts on the West Coast, Lukas could not have been more confident.
When we went over there in 1988, I was extremely confident. I looked at the field, more confident than I should have been, actually. But I looked at the field, and other than 49er, I couldn't see any of those horses beating Winning Colors. She was dominant. You remember here in the Santa Anita Derby, winning by 7 or 8 lengths. We went in there, she was just perfect. She was big and strong and overpowering, had tactical speed, and we just kind of were cocky about it. We just said, come on, boys, catch us if you can. And we went over there very confident we'd get ours.
And they're on. From between horses, Gin's Dancer. There goes the roan filly, Winning Colors, grabbing the lead right from the start. Carrie Stevens sends her to the front, and she responds, taking command by a length on the far outside. Pat Bay has 49er in second. Gin's Dancer is next at the rail and seeking the gold fourth.
The strategy paid off, and the underestimation, I think, by the other trainers and riders that were involved of Winning Colors being able to stay the 1.25 miles definitely played into our hand. She had so much natural speed and just took complete authority of a race from the time the gates opened. She was a big, robust filly, wasn't intimidated by the other sex. If anything, she was an intimidator.
She's led from the start, every pole a winning one, and it's Winning Colors showing the way as they straight away in the lane. Winning Colors doing it just like Wayne Lukas said she would, taking command and drawing off. Now she's in front by 3. Proper Reality is second. Here comes 49er, 2-year-old champ from last year, putting in a bid on the outside, and down the stretch they come. Winning Colors in front. Here comes 49er on the outside. Lukas and Stevens. It's a driving finish. Winning Colors by a head.
I think when they turned for home, and Gary hadn't really asked her, I felt we were in great shape. In fact, I thought she might open up much like she did in the Santa Anita Derby. I'm really, really feeling good. You get that warm feeling, that rush that you get when you win any race, and she comes down through there, switches her leads right on cue, makes that powerful patented run, and I was, believe it or not, watching it in the track superintendent's room. It was just Jeannie Reese and I and Billy Reed, just 3 of us in there. I was watching on TV because I wanted to get to her, and I wasn't in the box or upstairs or with a camera on me or anything, and like they do nowadays, but I felt great pride going through the tunnel, going out to get her. I know we got it done.
Wayne Lukas, the game's most successful trainer, had at last won the big one. The Derby Monkey, as he had called it, was finally off his back. Wayne Lukas is a driven man, a competitor, a perfectionist, and those who meet him in the shed row at 5 o'clock every morning also see a bit of his past.
He's the consummate coach. He's coaching every day. There's always something. It can never be perfect. He can't walk in and not find some fault somewhere, but that's just the coach in him. He's trying to make you pick up your head, do a little bit better, and he does that every day. One of Wayne's closest friends is another driven man, a competitor, a perfectionist. University of Indiana head basketball coach Bobby Knight.
He and I think, have a lot of things in common. I think we could have been joined at the hip and it wouldn't have been too far-fetched. We want to make people accountable for their actions, press included. I think we're both intense. We expect excellence from whoever we're dealing with, and anything less than that is not satisfactory. And we're both outspoken, maybe to a point where it's, you know, hurt both of us in some arenas. But on the other hand, I think that, and watching him and the excellence, the bottom line is both of us have done very well in our respective sports.
Following that first Derby win in 1988, D. Wayne would wait another 6 years and go 0 for 10 before smelling the roses again. It was 1995, and Team Lukas swept into Churchill Downs with 2 strong entries and an oh yeah. Timber Country, the Breeders' Cup juvenile winner and 2-year-old champion colt of 1994. Serena's Song, the brilliantly fast filly who had just beaten the boys by more than 3 lengths in the Jim Beam Stakes. And oh yeah, there was Thunder Gulch, who had dominated in Florida, but then ran a bad 4th as the favorite in the Bluegrass Stakes just 3 weeks before the Derby. The so-called experts wrote him off, especially when he drew the 16th post out of the auxiliary gate, but not D. Wayne Lukas.
That horse, though, all week long, really started to tout us. He got very, very much in tune to what was going on. And we had an outstanding rider back again with Gary Stevens, and it just kind of fell into place for him.
Thunder Gulch's owner, with his first Kentucky Derby starter, was Englishman Michael Tabor, now retired to Monte Carlo after selling his British betting shops.
Obviously, he was a forgotten horse, basically, of Wayne's 3 entries, so that helped the horse being such a big prize.
Thunder Gulch would go to the post on that first Saturday in May 1995 at odds of 24 to 1. His jockey was Lukas's first Derby-winning rider, Gary Stevens, who'd been riding that spring in Hong Kong.
I received a phone call shortly after the Bluegrass, and Wayne Lukas had asked us if we would like to come and ride Thunder Gulch in the Kentucky Derby, and to be quite honest, I wasn't too excited about coming and riding him off of his Bluegrass race.
Stevens had only ridden Thunder Gulch once before as a 2-year-old, but as post-time drew near, Gary detected a change in the colt.
He was just very, very focused. As we walked into the race, into the starting gate, he seemed to have a glazed-over look in his eye and just looked straight down the racetrack and seemed to tell me or give me a feeling that, hey, this is our day and we're going to get the job done.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby. Afternoon Delights gets away quickly, and Serena's Song is expected on the outside. Along the inside, Wild Sin takes up the chase. CITATION in the middle of the racetrack as they passes for the first time. Serena's Song on the outside leads it. Wild Sin at the rail is second. CITATION right there, third. Talking Man in tight quarters between horses, fourth. Pyramid Peak at the rail is fifth. Thunder Gulch of close-up sixth. On the inside in blue and white colors. On the outside, Thunder Gulch with the white blinkers, and Gary Stevens aboard has something to say about this Derby as they turn for home. A little more than a quarter of a mile to go. Serena's Song desperate to hang on between horses. Talking Man on the inside, but Thunder Gulch emerges with the lead, and Thunder Gulch with Gary Stevens takes command. Talking Man along the inside, and now here comes Kahano Run, and in the middle of the racetrack, it's Elton along with Gum Run, and down the stretch they come in the Derby, and here's the winner. It's Thunder Gulch. Lukas wins it with the lesser of the 3 horses he trains. How about that? Thunder Gulch wins it. Timber Country was flying its photograph all around for the place and show spot.
Thunder Gulch, Lukas's overlooked Derby colt, won the Roses by a convincing 2 1/4 lengths and returned the 6th highest mutual payoff in the race's long history, $51. In 1996, D. Wayne would join H.J. Dick Thompson, Ben Jones, Jimmy Jones, and Lucien Laurent in winning consecutive Kentucky Derbies. That year, Lukas had a record 5 Derby starters. Editor's note, Prince of Thieves, Victory Speech, Honor and Glory, and Grindstone. The overlooked colt this spring was Grindstone, who had been with Lukas's 3rd string in New Orleans, where he won the Louisiana Derby. Once again, Wayne had to do a sales job on his rider.
Gary Bailey did not want to ride him. I had a couple other horses, as you know from the records, and he would have probably chosen a different horse. I forced him onto Grindstone, thinking that not only was it a good match, but I thought maybe that was the horse I needed him on, plus it was maybe the best horse. He put an unbelievable ride on Grindstone to win it. And I think that if in our winning, our Derby wins down through the years, the rider is always important, but never as important as it was that day.
Prince of Thieves along the inside, fourth at this point as they straighten away in the stretch. It's Unbridled Song to Lose. He's in front. He's in front by 2. Here comes Cavalier on the inside, and down the stretch they come. Unbridled Song, Cavalier on the inside. Out the middle of the track, Grindstone is closing stoutly. It's Cavalier on the inside and Grindstone on the outside. McCarran and Bailey, here's the finish. Too tight to call. Was it Cavalier on the inside? Was it Bailey with Grindstone on the outside?
Photo. Too close to call. No one was sure who won. Was it Cavalier on the inside or Grindstone on the outside?
I didn't know if I'd won it when I got to the wire, but I knew I'd give him my best. I knew Grindstone had given him his best.
In the box, neither Lukas nor Grindstone's owner and breeder, 78-year-old native Kentuckian W.T. Young, knew the result.
But I didn't dare move from my seat. I was frozen. Stormcat in the 85 Breeders' Cup. If he'd won that race, he'd been 2-year-old champion. And we thought we had the race won. It was at Aqueduct. And the track announcer announced that Stormcat had won. So I grabbed my wife, and we headed for the winner's circle and got about halfway there. And they had read the photos, and Tasso had beat us about 2 inches. So I just snuck back up to my box, and I swore I'd never leave my seat again until it was official.
When it was official, it was number 4, Grindstone, by a nose over Cavalier. It provided D. Wayne Lukas with his greatest Derby moment.
To do it with that guy in that setting. I mean, if you're a Kentuckian, you don't even have to be in the horse business, but if you're a Kentuckian that has done so much for your community and so much for the state of Kentucky, and then to win the Kentucky Derby in front of your hometown friends, your boyhood friends, and people that you supported, and the generosity you showed, it was the most popular Kentucky Derby win ever, believe me.
Kentucky Derbies of the 1990s, there were 3 dominant trainers: D. Wayne Lukas, Nick Zito, and Bob BAFFERT. Each had 2 victories in the decade. In 1999, the final Derby of the millennium, the Roses and the title of Derby Trainer of the Decade were at stake. For the now 63-year-old Lukas, in his 18th consecutive Derby, experience was on his side.
Guys that go to the Derby for the first time, they get a hell of an education. You come out of there and it humbles you. It makes you wonder if you know anything about a horse. You realize how difficult it is to win.
But it would be hard to imagine even the veteran Lukas could be ready to win with the colt named Charismatic. This 3-year-old had really tested all of Wayne's skills and experience. Twice, he had been dropped down to the claiming ranks.
I misread him totally, but he kept getting better and better and better. And who's to know that maybe those races weren't the confidence builders that it took to get to where we ultimately got with him. But this was a good horse. It was lying dormant. That talent was there. He was impeccably bred. He was just a damn good horse. And I had the luxury of having Bob and Beverly Lewis own him. And I say that because I don't think I could have done that with a lot of clientele. I think that they gave me the freedom to develop the horse and never lost faith. Most people would have said, well, we aren't even going to run him in the Derby. They let me believe that he was good enough and let me carry it out full skate.
Lukas wasn't the only one who misread Charismatic. He would go off at 31-1 in Bob and Beverly Lewis's yellow and green silks. D. Wayne's other entry was Cap Thief for W.T. Young's Overbrook Farm at almost 8-1.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby. Charismatic gets away quickly, and Answer Lively shows speed toward the inside. Cat Thief with the white blinkers, and Worldly Manor is up front.
I'm really getting into Cat Thief, and I'm thinking that he's had such a dream trip. Now he hits the top of the stretch. He makes the lead. He's rolling home, and out of the corner of my eye, I catch Charismatic making that big, bold move, which I knew he had in him. And he's running so strong. and he's going to get a clear shot at it. And so right there in the middle of the stream, I just switched to lines. I'm going cat thief, and suddenly I'm going charismatic, because I can see that it's going to be charismatic. I did not see Menifee coming as strong as he did, neither did Chris Henley, obviously, but I felt at the 8th pole that charismatic was going to give us our 4th one.
Charismatic on the outside takes command. On the inside, cat thief. In the middle of the track, Menifee is flying, but it's charismatic holding on to win it by a hand. Menifee flying on the outside, and cat thief, I believe, was 3rd. What a dramatic victory as Charismatic and Chris Handley team up to get the roses for Lukas. Handley won it once, and now Wayne Lukas wins it again.
What made this Derby so sweet for Lukas was that even his critics had to acknowledge his achievements.
100 years from now, people will look back on this era, on the Lukas era, and they'll look at these records, all those numbers that he put up on the board, and they're going to say, how the hell did this guy do it? You know, how did he do it year after year after year? Because I don't think it's ever going to be done again.
In the summer of 1999, D. Wayne Lukas received the sport's highest honor, induction into the National Racing Hall of Fame. At the end of the 20th century, Lukas was the undisputed king of the sport of kings' greatest prize, the Kentucky Derby. But for this driven man, who never stops thinking about the run for the roses, 4 victories is not enough.
I don't see any reason, and I don't say this boastfully, I don't want this to sound wrong, but I don't see any reason why we can't win a couple more derbies. My health is good. My intensity is probably better than it's ever been. I think I'm more focused now than I've been. And again, you can't downplay the experience factor.
And that experience factor has taught Lukas something else about the Kentucky Derby.
I think the Derby is kind of a reward for people that are just good people. I've always said that when you look down through the years of the Derby, people that win the Kentucky Derby, it's almost like the racing gods look down and say, you know, this person deserves this moment. He deserves his win. And you look at Paul Mellon, and you look at Mrs. Gunther, and you look at Bob and Beverly Lewis, and Bill Young, and Partee, and you think back and you say, gosh, no bad guys ever win it. It's always great people.